Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Tank Talk podcast. I'm here with John from KG Tropicals. We have got it's a doozy for us because I know some of you out there have some thoughts, and I cannot wait to hear from you in the comments section below. What are your thoughts, John? What are we talking about today?
We are talking about Cyberdyne systems taking over the world and the robots revolting and eliminating the human race. We are talking about AI and fish keeping. And I got to admit, when you proposed this topic, I thought, I don't even know what he's talking about. But then when you explained to me, I said, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. Yes, this is definitely a real thing. So it makes more sense to me now, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
So here's why. First of all, I did a video on this subject. It was a short little video, about 6 or 7 minutes, how AI is going to change fish keeping. But this subject really, really lends itself well more to a conversation than it does a 7-minute video, because we're talking about something that literally could change the way that we understand fish keeping, or the way that at least we acquire knowledge about fish keeping. And what really started this whole thing was I did a video a few weeks ago on Primetime Aquatics, and I used an AI generated image for a thumbnail, and holy cow, people had opinions on that. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that, to the point where some people were like, if you do that again, I'm never watching your videos. I was like, wow, okay, all right, hold on, I'm listening. I'm not ignoring that information, because it would be crazy to. But it really got me thinking. I'm like, okay, if people have this strong of an opinion about an AI generated thumbnail, I asked the question in the video, what do you think about AI generated content and all the potential problems that can go along with that? And again, comments section was loaded up full of opinions. And so I know that I have used the AI generated thumbnails before. You've done it on your channel. We've done it on the Talk podcast. What are your thoughts, advantages, disadvantages, in your opinion, to just do it? Let's just deal with the thumbnails first, right? The images.
I personally, I think the thumbnails can make it fun. I mean, just recently, you and I did an episode of the podcast about hybrids, and I make all of our thumbnails. So if our thumbnails are bad, it's me, not Jason. So you can get mad at me, but I wanted to make the point of, this is a video about hybrids. So let me have the computer create a image that is a hybrid. And I typed in a goldfish mixed with an Oscar fish. And that is what we ended up with there. And I thought it was cute. I thought it was adorable. And I thought it made its point. But I've used them in the past, like you have, where I've used them to create like some kind of drama. One time I was doing, the video was about fish that are super aggressive. And so I had the AI generator make a jaguar cichlid with its mouth open and these big fangs like jaws. It was kind of ridiculous, but it was silly and fun. That's why I did it. A couple of people had a problem with that. And there is a certain look to AI generated fish and stuff like that. They look cartoony and stuff like that. I personally don't think it's a problem with thumbnails. I mean, depending on how it's used. I mean, if it's, okay, I want an Oscar fish with a naked woman in the thumbnail, which that wouldn't get through YouTube's service or, restrictions. But I'm just saying, things like that, okay, you're taking it too far. And the AI generators would do that if you wanted it to. But if it's just like, I don't know, trying to show a really nice fish or something like that, I don't think that that's too much of a problem, but then again, I'm the YouTuber. Of course I wouldn't have a problem with it.
So a lot of the feedback I got, and thank you to everybody who actually did respond to the AI video that I did, and even for those of you who left the comments that said, hey, you know what, I'm not cool with this. We want to hear, as content creators, we want to hear your opinion, even when that is going contrary to what it is we're doing, because that helps us become better content creators. And it was interesting because there was a spectrum of respondents, and one And one side, which we'll call the extreme side of, I don't want to see AI thumbnails, I don't want to see videos, which we'll talk about next. And if I see them, if it becomes a pattern, I'm out. And I, in the general consensus was authenticity. And I can appreciate that, right? The people were saying, listen, I come to you to get real knowledge, to get real experience, to look at nature the way it was meant to be viewed. And when you're using the AI thumbnails, it's giving us an artificial reflection of what fish keeping is. And I was like, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that was a lot of the comments that I saw when it comes to the thumbnails. I'm like, I can respect that. I can absolutely understand why somebody would say, listen, what we do is not daily business updates. It's not politics. It's not sports. And so what we're doing is so much of it is visual. That's the reason. Listen, we do fish keeping because we like to watch the fish. We like to watch the ecosystems. And if we're providing an artificial environment, even if it's a picture, I can understand why people would respond negatively to that. At the same time, John, I understand what you're saying because I did it myself. It's like, well, sometimes it can be a little bit fun, right? In my AI video, I was like, okay, I want an evil looking robot eating a fish tank. That's not exactly what I got. I got what you see there. That was the most ominous looking thumbnail that the AI generator created. But the one that caused all the controversy was I wanted a fish that looks surprised. Well, in nature, fish generally don't have a surprised look on their face. I thought it would just be cool. This is hilarious. And I didn't notice this until people responded with the level of discontent about the thumbnail. They're like, nice AI thumbnail, i.e., I hate it. Oh, and by the way, why does the fish have two mouths? And I'm like, wait, what? Because, my eyesight is not so great. That's why I have these, and I very rarely ever wear them. So I look a little closer, and sure enough, the guppy's got its regular mouth that's closed, and then it's got the surprised open mouth. I left it because I just think it's hilarious now. It's like that typical AI thing where they show two people shaking hands, and one person's got 7 fingers or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty funny. So I left it. The thumbnail is just the way it is, but I understand that perspective where the authenticity might be reduced. Now, but here's the counter argument for you when you've used these, because we're trying to get into the deeper level of, is the information going to be ultimately corrupted? But at least in terms of the thumbnail, to get people into the video, have you noticed a difference in the number of people positively interacting with the video, i.e., actually clicking on it and being like, oh, you know what? This is something I'm going to watch. And you wind up with more views based on that particular style of thumbnail. Or has it been less, or has it not mattered?
I have not personally noticed a shift either way, or a a tendency either way. Um, right now in our community, the YouTube is very much down. All of the COVID people are bailing on the hobby, and I guess that's why our industry is at a downturn. I don't mean to make this doom and gloom. So the numbers are not, they're not good. uh, I'm the luckiest man alive, so I'm not asking anybody to feel sorry for me. But the it hasn't caused any kind of a difference that I would have noticed one way or the other, because the numbers are down. Back during COVID, when everything was just an explosion, everything that you put out, it might have been a little bit more noticeable, but I haven't noticed it in a positive or a negative way. And let me just say, the video with the robot eating the aquarium, I thought was a brilliant thumbnail. How else are you going to accomplish that? You, to my knowledge, don't own a humanoid robot that you could ask to pose in a position like that. It made the point, and I thought it made it beautifully, and I don't feel like it was deceptive or anything like that. I think it was brilliant. But I could also see why a cartoon version of a guppy with two mouths might be a little off-putting, but I thought the robot one was brilliant, personally.
So, and to be fair, a lot of people commented, yeah, you know what, I might support a creator who's got an AI generated thumbnail, but once we get into the video, and this is, I think, where the meat of what we want to talk about today, once we get into the actual video, it was not a well-received message where, hey, you know what, yeah, we're cool with AI generated content. Now, for me personally, and I'll let you answer this for your from your own perspective as well. But for me personally, if I click on a video, and to me, what's more devious is not using an AI thumbnail and a real person. It's the opposite. It's when you have a real thumbnail with reality, and then you click on it and you've got a very clearly AI narrated video. I click off instantly. I
Hmm.
cannot stand, I despise the AI generated videos because it's not a person. It's just a program that has taken a bunch of information that has been developed by people's actual experience, slammed it all together in what can be, and we'll talk about this later, a marginally reliable set of information, and then just regurgitated it back. And now you're supposed to sit there and, with their still image zooms and their Ken Burns effect and all that stuff, and you're supposed to consume that content.
I That is a huge problem on all of social media, and I despise it. I'm exactly the same way as you. I watch a lot of content on YouTube. Very little of it is fish keeping content because I don't want to be influenced and I want to do
Yeah.
my own thing. And so I'm not trying to be mean when I say that, but a lot of times you bring up videos that you've made and I haven't watched it, and same thing goes the other way. You make
Yeah.
videos and I haven't watched it, and it's because of that. Um, but I watch a lot of content on other things, and it is, oh, it's out there. There's people making up fake stuff. It's prevalent on there. And just like you, it's pretty easy to identify AI voices. It's not that walk with me through the park like that was a horrible example, but like that
No, you actually did that
generic.
really well, scarily so. I think maybe we're going to have to take your man card away for that one. Anybody who wants to take John's man card away, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. Like, yeah, that's a demerit right there. You did that. Have you been practicing that? Because that's actually got me a little concerned.
Well, I am an impressionist. That is my no,
Okay.
no, I'm kidding. That just came out of nowhere, but hopefully everybody knows who I'm talking about. It's that female TikTok generic voice that is text to type to, what is it? Text to
Whatever it's.
speech. There you go.
Yeah.
And it's that female. This is my blah blah blah, and it's as soon as I hear that, I'm out. I cannot take it. And there's so many male voices too that are easily identifiable. I won't do it. And even if the information is good, I'm not interested. If you are so lazy that you had an
Yes.
AI voice do the video for you, you are not getting a view from me, even though you technically are, but you're not getting very much watch time from me. I'm out immediately.
Yeah. And I think that's so much of what we've done in the fish keeping community. One of the things that I think personally has advanced the fish keeping community is easy access to knowledge from people who have experience doing the things we love to do. When I am looking at a video, I want to learn how to. The other day, I had to be able to change. Need to change a belt in my washing machine. Well, I'd never done that before. So, boom, on the internet I went. I watched a real dude. He was chubby and not particularly great looking. It didn't matter to me because he was awesome at explaining how to get this whole washing machine turned upside down and get the belt off and adjust the tension. Perfect. It's exactly what I needed. So I didn't need a robotic voice to be like step one and then give me some information that very well could be wrong. Now, I'm not saying that live people don't do that as well, but the the other aspect of this and what I've noticed is you said the amount of information there that is just it's falsified. It's just straight up wrong. Not necessarily in fish keeping per se, but I've been watching videos lately or clicking on videos where it's like some shocking headline like, "Oh, so and so sports guy just got traded to another team," or it's just some awful. I was mentioning before this Harley Davidson just came out with a brand new model. I'm like, seriously, that's pretty cool. You click on the video and it's all a lie. It was all an AI thing. I'm like, who's even doing this? Why are you just purposely sending out false information that is it's not even remotely close to reality?
I saw a thumbnail one day that was, I think it was the Pontiac Trans Am.
Mm,
As we know, Pontiac went out of business a
yeah,
decade ago, or if not more than that. But
20 years.
as yeah, as someone that is from the same generation as you, we were brought up at the same time. We loved us some Trans Ams back in the 80s and early 90s. And so the thumbnail that I saw was a conceptualized Trans Am that's coming back, Firebird. It had the bird on the hood and everything. And I was like, oh, I've got to see that. And I clicked on it, and it was exactly what you're saying. It was some schmuck that completely created this on his computer and put it out there as if it was a real thing. And what was even more shocking on it, I wanted to see, like, okay, is this some idiot that just ran with somebody else's story, or is this real? Are they really bringing back the Trans Am? Typed it in, and there was countless examples of people doing the same thing. All of them looked different, but they were all announcing that Pontiac was making a return, and they were bringing the Firebird back, or Trans Am back. And it really made me mad because I was excited. I was like, oh, cool, Smokey and the Bandit's coming back. But that really, really bothered me. So, yeah, that's happening a lot. I haven't seen it necessarily as much in fish keeping, but then again, like I said, I don't watch a lot of fish content, and I'm glad because it would really make me mad.
Well, it's just one of those things. Give it time, and it will happen, because ultimately, what this invites is not people who have a ton of experience keeping fish, because they're doing an end around, right? They're taking a shortcut in trying to provide people with information, grow a channel, whatever. And what AI does, AI is only as good as the inputs that AI is allowed to collect. And that's all coming from human experience. And so if you have somebody who is just generating AI content related to fish keeping, they're just taking information from the internet, regurgitating it, mixing it around so they don't wind up infringing on somebody's copyright information, and then just throwing it out there. And so they're not even going to necessarily know. There's a good chance they won't even know if the information they've shared came from a reliable source, or was it a mix of sources that are less than reliable. And what is that going to do to the hobby long term if more and more of that content is released?
It's going to ruin it. And it's going to ruin it, and it's going to ruin it for the people that are trying to give out good information. And
Yeah.
because this hobby dies when people kill fish. And if people are getting bad information from computers, fish are going to die. They're going to bail, and we're all going to have to find jobs. Well, you already have a job, but you're smart.
So here's a question for you, because this is one that I think we're just going to get right into the meat of this, what I think is probably the most important part of this discussion. Let's fast forward a few years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, because these things actually never happen as fast as everybody says they're going to have. Like, oh, next year, everything's going to be AI and everybody's going to be out of a job. It never happens that way. It turns out that these things they have incremental improvements over time and almost imperceptible in some cases. So we fast forward 5 or 10 years, and AI has really, really advanced. At what point do people stop sharing knowledge because they know the minute they share it on a public forum, it's going to be stolen, repackaged, made really flashy, and then that program, that AI system, is going to be the one that actually winds up benefiting the most from the knowledge that was actually provided by some small time person, or maybe just someone who was messing around in a fish room. At what point does AI just gobble up everything to the point where it has no information to feed off of?
I I am terrified of this, and I think it could be easily within the next 10 years that happens. And the reason why I feel that way is I while you were talking, I actually looked it up just to pique my curiosity. Um, People are already stealing content. I mean, that's all over the place. And me personally, if you're not a YouTuber, there is a page on your YouTube studio that you can go to that's called the copyright. YouTube is brilliant for doing this. I love that they do this. And basically, anywhere where your videos have shown up that are not your it's not your channel, they alert you to that, and you can decide to take action. I'm looking at 56 videos right now that are on YouTube that are me or Lisa, and they're using our content for their purposes. Now, most of them don't have a lot of views, So I mean, it's not like it's hurting us, but I'm using that to prove the point that people are stealing the videos. I mean, that is a real thing. And when you add to that, I gotta give you a little bit of a I gotta confess something here to you. I have used AI in videos, and I'll tell you where. We ended up abandoning this because it was too expensive to do it. But I joined a service that would take your videos and dub voices over it that are foreign languages. Like, so
Hmm.
I went in and I would get my videos done in Hindi. I would get them done in um, German, French, and a bunch. I think I did like 7 different languages, so that we don't re-upload the videos, but you make
Right.
the audio available in different languages so that people in other countries can watch it, and it's great. And it's all done by way of AI. And I actually, because I'm a fan, an option was available to have the male voice be Joe Rogan's voice. So now the interesting thing is another we did them in Portuguese and Spanish too. And so when you would watch that video, if you switch it to Spanish audio, not all of our videos are this way. I think I did maybe like 30 videos. You will hear my voice when I'm speaking in Spanish. My mouth is still moving English, but you hear Spanish dubbed over it, and it's Joe Rogan speaking Spanish. And it sounds exactly like him. I've gotten comments on those videos that are typing Spanish, so I don't know what they're saying, but it clearly says Joe Rogan. Like, it would be Spanish, 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 Joe Rogan, Spanish, Spanish, Spanish. And it's obviously somebody saying, I thought that was Joe Rogan's voice or something like that. I did that because I thought it would be funny. And it was actually the most naturally sounding voice. Um, Joe Rogan's voice is not that dissimilar to mine. So I figured it was, a funny thing to do. And I think Joe Rogan is affiliated with this website. So it's not like they've stolen his voice. I think he's like maybe part owner of it or something. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is this happens instantaneously. I put my video up on this site, and instantaneously I get an audio file of Joe Rogan's voice. It could be an hour-long video, and it happens that fast. And so how long is it going to be before I could make it Joe Rogan in my video?
Right.
If you want to be famous on internet, on social media right now, how are you going to be more famous than Joe Rogan or Jimmy Donaldson or Casey Neistat? And if you can take that person and have that person generated, oh man, there's going to be big trouble. That's when Cyberdyne comes and takes over, and it's
Well,
going to be
and
a
you and I
problem.
were talking, and when we talk on the side, a lot of times we're talking about, okay, what makes for someone who's going to watch a video, right? And obviously, younger people are going to draw more attention if they are beautiful or good looking. They're going to draw more attention. So, at what point does AI generate a human being? And by the way, this has already happened. There are
It's
people
already
giving
happening. Yeah,
all kinds of money to content creators on certain sites that aren't, they don't even exist, they're not even real. And here's the scary thing: even when people find out that these AI humans are not real, they're still giving the money away. They're so connected to, disconnected from reality and connected to this not real person. At what point do you take somebody who's got the knowledge, who can communicate it in a good way, but then you connect the words and the information to an AI voice, to an AI human being, and give it an AI environment? So if you're talking about aquariums, you're like, okay, let's talk about guppies. Okay, let me show you a guppy tank. This guppy tank does not exist in the real world. It's a 40-gallon breeder. It is aquascaped because AI is going to learn what do human beings view as beautiful in an aquarium. You've got this perfect aquarium with these perfect fish, and you're getting information from people who actually, you're stealing the information for people who actually breed guppies, have cared for guppies for 40 years. You box it up in a person that is easy to look at, and now it's this content out there, and it is basically all of it is fake. All of it. The fish are fake. The aquariums are fake. The person is fake. The only thing that is possibly real is the stolen content from somebody who actually produced it.
It's coming. This is coming because it's already there. I mean, complete environments created by AI, and I mean, I'm not going to say the videos that I've seen. I'm not going to say where they came from because I don't want to single out particular people, but you could quite easily make out the ethnicity of the AI generated person in these videos. It's already here. And that is terrifying. And that's how a lot of bad information gets spread around. That's how a lot of fish die. That's how a lot of people lose their jobs. I'm going to be fine. Nobody has, I'm not saying I'm worried about me losing my job, but it could happen. Think about this. I'm going doom and gloom, full doom and gloom here. Okay. Think about this. Probably 10 years from now, I can make a video on YouTube, but make it you in the video. And so people click on that and they see Jason Adams saying whatever I want Jason Adams to say. Can you imagine if that was available at the time of this uploading 4 or 5 weeks ago during the election? If I wanted to ruin Jason Adams, what could I do? I could make a video of Jason Adams saying the worst things possible about Kamala Harris. And then I could make the same video, except Jason Adams is now saying all the worst things possible about Donald Trump. What have I done? I have both halves of the country now hate Jason Adams. Yeah. And Jason Adams never said a word. That is what's terrifying to me. And that's, I feel like, what has a lot of people scared is that people can get in trouble. It's like, that wasn't me. I didn't say those things. People that know us know we're not going to do that kind of stuff anyway, but it'll be out there.
But that's scary on a different level because people can say things and then just say it was AI generated and just absolve themselves of any responsibility.
That's true too.
People won't know what the heck is going on. And you mentioned that, but that's already here. It's funny you mentioned that. A couple of days ago, I was watching on like the Facebook thing and something popped up and it was a sports guy. It was actually hilarious, but I didn't know it was fake at first because it was one of those deep fakes where this quarterback was absolutely ripping his team to shreds. He was using all kinds of foul language. And I'm like, he said what you would assume he was probably thinking after that last game. And I'm like, no. And sure. And you start to realize, okay, this is clearly not real. But it was, if someone didn't know that AI was a thing and they had watched this video, they had the mouth movements all synced up and the mannerisms were there. So they took an interview that this football quarterback had given, adjusted the mouth movements, synced in the audio, I mean, nearly perfectly to the point where you're like, this is scary. And I'm like, holy cow, it's happening. So I don't think it's 5 or 10 years away. But the question I think I have for anybody who's listening or watching this right now is, will you support that? Well, because ultimately, I really, truly believe that what's going to wind up happening is there is no incentive for people to share their knowledge if the knowledge that they share is immediately stolen and monetized by a program, by an unscrupulous person who's got a program who can just flip this around. I'll give you a really good example. You had mentioned, the dubbing. We talked about this before we went live, but I had a friend of mine, I had a swap say, hey, come here, I got to show you something. He took one of my videos, he dumped it into this AI program. The AI program made a podcast about the video I did, and it was a guy and a girl talking. And these were not robotic voices at all. And I'm like, this is insane. They were interacting with one another in this podcast, just like you and I are doing right now, having a somewhat normal conversation about me and what I said in the video. But here's the crazy thing. They had background about me that I didn't share in that particular video. So the AI went out, knew my background in the sciences, took the information from the video and somehow made like a 45-minute podcast about that one video. And it had I
That's
didn't do anything.
terrifying.
There was nothing, right? I had nothing to do with that. And it was like, that was shocking. That was absolutely shocking.
And there are so many people that will absolutely do that because any way that they can make money possible, they will do it. And they're already doing it to the extent that they can. Like I said, 56 of my videos are out there right now that are on somebody else's channel. And I really, I don't waste my time with it because a lot of them are 184 views, 60 views, 25 views, 18 views. It's like, it's not worth my time to mess
So I
around with
just
that.
checked while you were looking. I have 147. I do waste my time. And the reason I do it is if they are stealing my stuff, I'm not the only one, right? They're
Sure.
stealing other people's stuff. And so I strike them, and I don't do the whole nice, oh, no, I strike them. And then what that does is guaranteed, I'm looking at these 147. A lot of them are showing that the creator doesn't even exist on YouTube anymore. So that is because if they did it to me, they probably did it to 15, 20 other people. They're just stealing other people's stuff and then using it to try to gain their own following. And I'm like, you're not doing that to me, and you're not going to do it to the 20 other people that you basically stole their stuff from. And if it was just me, then it would be one strike and their channel would still be up. But out of these 147, almost none of them, I'm going back to the last 50. One out of 50 still has a channel that is up and running. One.
Wow.
That's it. So that tells you something right there. And the AI is just going to make it worse. Now, and the reason, again, the concern is not so much for me personally. It really is the breakdown of unique and novel information because, again, AI cannot actually generate new knowledge. You could make an argument that it can take a lot of information and put it together and come up with new conclusions, but it's going to struggle to make new, authentic discoveries, and that is where the death of knowledge comes from. Is when you share knowledge and it's just stolen from you right away. There's no incentive anymore to gain knowledge, to share it, if you're not the one that can communicate it effectively, and people are just going to take it from you.
I do agree, and it is terrifying. Now, my only hope with it, and the reason why I am not, I realize I said I'm going to go doom and gloom before, and that was just an example of something that people could do. And that example that I gave could certainly happen, and I'm terrified of that. But when it comes to stolen content and then regenerated through AI and all of that, I feel like Google, the owner of YouTube, one of the biggest companies in the world, I feel like as AI advances, their systems will be advancing as well and will be able to detect these kind of things and be able to alert us to it just like they do with the videos that we're talking about here. And this has been a problem for a very long time. I mean, and YouTube has kind of always been ready for, okay, if this kind of thing happens, we're going to grab it, we're going to nail it. But if they make that Donald Trump video and that Kamala Harris video, that's not a theft of any content because neither one of us would make that content. That's just an AI generated thing. That's a different deal. But I feel like the stealing of content, I think, I feel like YouTube will have a grasp on that. At least I hope that they will, and we'll be able to, swipe that stuff down. And in that case, I definitely would. If somebody generates me, first of all, why are you AI generating me? Like, but if it got to that point, as soon as I was done being completely spooked out by it, I would be striking that immediately. But and I just hope. My only hope is that YouTube will be able to stay on top of it and it won't really be a thing. But video theft is out there. It's rampant already. So,
Yeah. My other concern for those people who are listening is it can be misleading in a way that's not so easy to catch. So again, going back to my guppy example, what if AI starts showing, for those of you who are experienced, you've learned how to separate the garbage information from hopefully better information. But for new fish keepers, which is the lifeblood of the hobby, if they get connected to, and I heard this multiple times in the comments section of the AI video I did. Hey, I was newer to fish keeping or newer to this aspect of fish keeping, and AI really led me down the wrong path. But what if AI gets developed to the point where you can't discern what the path actually is because it is so overwhelming that you've got so many of these AI channels or AI information, so much as AI information that's all agreeing, right? We always talk about consensus, but then they actually show you AI generated images that are no longer distinguishable from real life of aquariums that really in real life just are not possible, right? They're mixing fish or they're showing you fish that don't actually exist, or they're sharing with you water parameters and equipment that are connected to this aquarium that really aren't possible, or if they are, it's actually very difficult to achieve. And your new fish keepers are going to mimic that, and they're going to wind up being severely harmed by that.
And that's the fear. That is, that's rock bottom right there. I agree with you 100% that the overwhelming majority of people in this hobby just got their first aquarium. And so they're desperate. They're in that honeymoon stage. They're desperate for information. And, they're, whatever they find is going to be what they stick with. And it's whoever has the prettiest package and puts it all together, that's who they're going to take their information from. And if that information is completely computer generated, you're basically watching an animation of this. We're doomed when that happens. Yeah. And it's scary. You got to call John Connor or something because it's gone.
And the other way this is going to harm people is for those who like to share information but don't want to be in front of a camera. There's a decent number of people just like that who have really solid information on, it could be anywhere from motorcycles to aquarium fish to reptiles. And they're just like, hey, I'm behind the scenes. There are creators out there where you never ever see their face, but they're relatively personable. They've been around for 10, 12 years. To me, it's going to get to a point where, unless that's already been well established, I'm getting to a point now where I'm almost not willing to watch a video unless there is an actual person in that video, because I don't know if this is just an AI thing now that's just being generated. Is it because the AI voices are starting to get better? They got, English accents and Australian accents and French accents. And some of them are just, they're not the robotic voice that you demonstrated earlier so well. But
thank you.
I'm at a point now where I flip on that video and it's just the animations, or I'm watching a bunch of B-roll without actually a person. I'm getting to the point now where I click off of those as well. And that's a shame, because there are people out there who would like to start sharing information, because some of it might be, we've never seen it before, right? What if you've got an expert in the Goodeids, you've got an expert in rainbow fish breeding, or you've got somebody who is really, really, really into these small riverine systems in Africa or on the continent of Australia, and they're sharing unique information, but you almost don't know sometimes what is the nature of this, where is this coming from, and who's doing it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I am very much the same way. There's really only one channel that I watch anymore that never shows himself, and it's not a fish channel. The channel's called Emergency Awesome. He talks about superheroes. And I've been subscribed to him since he had 20,000 subscribers. I think he has like 4 million now. He's really, really good. He doesn't show himself. He has shown himself. I know what the guy looks like, but you very rarely ever see him. And for somebody like him, it would be tough, because you get these programs that can duplicate his voice. It'd be hard to argue that, whatever it is that you see is not him. I mean, that would be really tough. So I agree. And I think YouTube as a whole is kind of going that way, where people appreciate the talking head stuff, where for a while there, it was the Peter McKinnon, Casey Neistat, very cinematic, beautiful type stuff, whereas, now you just see a lot of talking head, and that works out really well. And that's probably because that's the only way you really know that it's a genuine person that's doing it. And that's why I keep going back to, it's going to be terrifying when people can duplicate that. The one saving grace, though, is our community is so small. And so, yeah, our videos are being stolen and they're being put out there. What I have found is the majority of my videos that are stolen are other countries. And so it
Mhm.
really doesn't affect me at all. At least it doesn't affect me in the countries where people actually watch my videos. Um, but our community is so small. I don't ever see it being something where these scammers would look at it as a cash cow, unless we're talking about an Aquarium info or something like that, where, she's the Mr. Beast practically. The videos that they're getting is ridiculous for us. And for, anybody from the king of DIY down, I just don't see it being appealing to do that with us. There's just not enough of an audience for that. That's the only thing that helps me to not call up John Connor, because otherwise we're doomed.
Yeah.
I think it
And
would eventually get to us, but it would take a while.
and what I've appreciated, at least from everybody's response that I got in the couple of videos, especially the one I did on the AI, was I might click on an AI thumbnail. I'm immediately clicking off of an AI voice or anything that I would perceive to be AI. And that's kind of reassuring. And I'm the same way. And it's not just about fish, it's just about everything else. Because again, I don't want to support that. I don't want to support
Laziness.
a program that has taken knowledge away from human beings who spent their lives possibly discovering it and gaining experience over decades and then just rehashing it. I'm not as confident that YouTube, Google, Facebook, Instagram, one, that they're going to really try all that hard to figure out how to not have that happen, because they can still make money either way. And two, I think it's going to be nearly impossible, because what I'm imagining is not that they take KG Tropical's video word for word. What I'm imagining is they take everything you've ever done on a certain subject, because AI could do this instantly, repackage it so that it's not a word for word thing. Connect it to an AI person that is not real, that is highly appealing to your average viewer, and then provide B-roll that isn't even based in reality. And now there is nothing that
Yeah.
YouTube, Google, or
You can't
anything's going to be
detect
able to,
that.
even other AI, I don't think you're just not going to be able to deal with that, because it might just be 50% your content, 10% mine, 20% Joey's, 10% Corey. And it's just going to be this thing where you've mixed and matched everybody's information. Again, what AI did was get consensus from everybody's videos, wrap it up in a pretty picture, and then repackage it.
Yeah, there's no such thing. And the scary part about it is, as soon as such technology is available, it's going to be a way for people to make money. Oh, there's going to be websites that you can go on and pay $350 for the year and have an unlimited supply of all of the content that you want to create. I mean, it's going to be out there, and
Yeah.
I hope you're wrong. I really do. I hope that there are ways of detecting it that YouTube or Instagram or any of them latches onto. My biggest hope is, if you think about it, if people are trying to create content that is somebody else, Mark Zuckerberg is one of the first people that they would choose. You know what I'm saying? It's a man whose life is controversial. People would be making AI videos of Mark Zuckerberg if they're not doing it already. And that would make him go, hey, wait a minute, metaverse, hold on. We got to put a stop to this. Nobody can even tell you who the CEO is of YouTube, because nobody knows. I mean, we know, but
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. I don't know who he is, but they're not going to be after that guy. But back in the day, Larry and Sergey and Zuckerberg, and they'll take those people's identity and make their own content out of it, and that is what would wake them up. But for YouTube, I think it would require somebody creating AI, Mark Rober and Mr. Beast and Joe Rogan and the big heavy hitters on the platform. That's when YouTube would probably react. But hopefully it's not a scenario where they're reacting. Hopefully there's a scenario where they prevent it. I just don't know. I'm not smart enough to know how to do that. I think there's probably a lot of money in being able to do that, but who knows? I mean,
Well, I think there is possibly a way, and that is, it's something that Twitter, X has done, Instagram's tried to do it, Facebook has tried to do it. And I guess to a certain extent YouTube has, but not to the extent. Even TikTok does this, and I didn't follow through with the entire process because they wanted all my personal information. But that's just it. If you want to share information, and there's a downside to this too, is if you want to share information, you have to verify that you're a real person, right? You click on a million things. I'm not a robot. Choose all these things. Maybe it's going to get to a point where if you want to share information on a social media site to ensure that everybody else is getting information from someone who actually has some experience, maybe you have to have a photo ID. You have to have a social security number. You have to have all these things. You have to have a picture of yourself. And there will be AI that can recognize AI generated images. That won't be an issue. So
Right.
maybe it is going to get to a point where if you are producing AI related content, it's instantly demonetized and you can share it, you can repackage it, but maybe you're not going to be able to collect from social media companies and make money from it. And once you do that, it's done, right? I mean, nobody is spending the time necessary, especially when they themselves are not going to get recognition for anything because they're just generating AI stuff. If you demonetize AI, and I think that's where YouTube might be going, because if you look, they've got that, hey, this is not AI generated or it's not meant to mislead people. That could be where they're going with those terms of service, where it's going to get to a point where I'm not paying you to make literally 100 different YouTube channels, regurgitate stuff from actual creators that create information for us on the social media platform, just so that you can get a bunch of ad revenue from your 100 channels that you created in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and there is value in a YouTube channel, like a 100,000 subscriber YouTube channel. If they were unable to be monetized, if you're right, and I hope you are, and YouTube finds a way to nail those and make them demonetized, I don't think that 100% takes away the appeal, because if I'm trying to sell a YouTube channel that has 100,000 subscribers, you know, that there's value to that. This is why I don't know if you've ever fallen for this. I certainly have, where there's like a big pay-per-view coming up and you see these channels that pop up that are showing the pay-per-view, but they're really not. What they're doing is showing old clips, and they're saying, as soon as we get to 100,000 subscribers, we're going to show the real pay-per-view. And they never do. All they're trying to do is get that channel to 100,000 subscribers so that they can sell that channel. And, maybe not 100,000 anymore. It might not be as valuable as it once was. But if there's a way of scamming people out of money, people are going to take advantage of that. And maybe, this just popped into my head, maybe that is why people, when they see AI thumbnails, they react the way they do. Not everybody, but the ones who have a problem with it, maybe they react that way because they see what's coming. It's not necessarily the thumbnail that bothers them so much. It's, okay, if you're going this direction, if this is what you're going to start to do, if you're going to take the lazy way out, not calling you lazy, Jason, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't want to be a part of this, because I see where AI is going. It's going to take over the world, and John Connor's going to come back from the future to save us. Anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, those are all Terminator references. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of the original Terminator series. That maybe that's why they have such a problem with it. It's like, this is going to go bad very fast, and this is where it starts. So we're letting you know we have a problem with this. Knock it off, because we know where this is going. Neither you or I would take it to that level, but people don't know that. And so I can understand them being concerned.
Yeah, and it's what we said at the very beginning of this, and I really appreciate that about our community. I appreciated the feedback, and I also appreciate their general opinion on it. It's like, you know what? We want authenticity. We want a real person sharing real experience with real fish and real aquariums, because we're used to having fake stuff, and it starts even with, like, you go on Facebook and someone's got like the face, I don't know, the face softening filters or whatever. It's like, just show your real face, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it gets to the point where, I mean, that stuff is already out there. And I know for me personally, when I look at somebody, I'm like, holy cow, could you slap any more filters? I had a student one time come into my office, and she was like 20 years old. So she's young, and she shows me a picture of her Instagram stuff. Or no, she just showed me a picture. And she's like, what do you think of this person? And first of all, I'm like, I'm not going to, it was a girl. So I'm not, the girl asked me about what I think of another girl. I'm not going to answer that question. So I'm like,
That's weird.
uh, yeah, right. So, but what was crazy is I'm glad I didn't because it was her. But I am telling you, the picture that she shared on Instagram relative to the way this person was looking right in front of me, you would have never thought they were the same person. It wasn't even close. And I see it all the time with people. You know, I go to the gym and then they post pictures on social media. I'm like, I just saw you 45 minutes ago. Now you're posting to the gym Instagram. You look nothing like that. If someone were to see the way you actually look, they wouldn't even know it's the same person. So there's an amount of authenticity that goes with how we just represent ourselves. And I know it's tough. I know there's a tremendous amount of pressure to try to conform, to try to be, somebody who is appealing, especially if you're going to be posting on social media. I've always said all people post on social media for attention, bar none. It's the only
It's
reason to
fact.
post, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But so you want to do everything you can to appeal to as many people as you can. But authenticity, I think, is it's going to become more important as time goes on. And I appreciate that about our community.
Yeah, and I'm reminded of somebody. I'm not going to say any names or even give any clue as to who this person might be, but you reminded me of someone that we both mutually know, that I saw on Instagram and then met in person, and I was like, no, no, that's not you. What are you talking about? Looked like a completely different person, and it was because even though you don't call it that, we didn't call it that 4 or 5 years ago. It was an AI type thing making this person look like a completely different human being than they actually were, and that's terrifying, because it does take away that authenticity. And I think people like, well, pretty much all of us in the community now, I don't want to just say me and you, but so many of us out there, we are doing the right thing right now. And I think we should stay the course. But I am scared of people that decide to take that and go the wrong way with it. Criminals, thieves
Yeah.
that take it and go the wrong way with it. Mainly, sure, it could hurt our businesses and all that kind of stuff, but it also hurts the entire community and starts drama that I'm too old for. I'm not ready for.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and I'm reminded too. I mean, if you think about a more practical example, what people have been doing this forever, and it frustrates me to no end when they hypersaturate a picture of a fish, right? So you're going on Google Images. Oh, I really want this certain type of fish, and all of a sudden you look at it like this is insane. You bring it home, and I'm like, what? This isn't even close to the same thing. That's one thing that I've been fooled by before over the years is
sure.
you look at a fish you're not familiar with, you're like, I can't wait to have this. And then Parasiprochromis is the perfect example. You bring them, and they're super expensive, and you bring them home only to realize they look like that they never look the way they look in the pictures, hyper-saturated. You got to have the lights perfect and only from a certain angle. It's like, wow, thanks a lot, everybody. I spent $200 on these four fish and they look nothing like the pictures and never did. And I think that is perhaps one of the things that is going to be horrible when it comes to AI, because AI is going to do what AI does. It wants to generate as many views and as much engagement as possible. And the way you do that is make fish behave the way they don't normally behave and look the way they don't normally look. And people are going to waste a lot of money buying fish that they saw that aren't even close to reality.
It is so weird what has just happened to me right here. And this, I'm going to show this in real time. I mean, the AI is taking over. It really is. It's probably not going to show, but as we're sitting here recording this podcast, I get a notification on my phone, on my watch. You can't see it and I can't put it close enough.
Okay.
It's you. It's your Instagram. It's not showing up.
Why?
This is I don't know. It says Primetime Aquatics recently shared a new reel, and that's Jason Adams on my watch right there. Look at that. It's bizarre. It's like, oh, they're watching me.
Yep. And they are listening. I mean, that's again.
Oh, sure, for sure.
I mean, I always get Facebook and it's a little creepy, but I always get Facebook advertisements about things that I've been talking about. Sometimes it's actually helpful. I mean, other
Yeah.
times I'm like, all right, Facebook, can you not do that? You're just creeping me out a little bit too much here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those hardcore conspiracy theorists that's building a bunker in my backyard or anything, but Big Brother is definitely watching. Maybe not Big Brother, but big tech
Big
is definitely
AI.
watching. Yep. And that's how they get you. That's how they know
Yep.
what you're thinking.
Yes, they do.
But listen, I mean, I know there's been a lot of doom and gloom talked here. Where I hope we're not scaring anybody, but we're scared ourselves at what could possibly happen here. But I really do hope that it won't affect our community. But let's face it, everything eventually trickles down, and it could be something that affects us in a bad way. And the worst part about it is that it kills a lot of fish.
Yeah.
Forget about
Absolutely. And it,
content creators and all of this. It kills a lot of fish, and that's a shame.
that's all, because ultimately what we've been talking about the entire time is not being able to trust the information you have, and watching unique information that funnel into, sharing it through social media going away, which harms all fish keepers and makes them less successful. And again, would love to hear what everybody thinks. AI thumbnails, is it okay? Yes or no? AI generated content, are you watching it? Yes or no? There's nothing wrong. Say, yeah, I like it. I find it really appealing and it's really enjoyable. And so far I've had no issues. We want to hear that too. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any other aspects of this I really had in my brain. I don't know if you do.
I don't, but what I do know is I'm not going to ever make another AI thumbnail, except for maybe this podcast. I feel like it's appropriate.
You have to on this one, because it's
I got to go
AI.
all in. Yeah, with this one, I got to go completely nuts. But other than this one, I think you've convinced me. I'm not going to do that.
Well, it's not me. It was them. I mean, I made a few myself. So yeah, I'm probably going to stay away from, unless it's like really obvious that it needed to be that. But yeah, I agree with you. So
yeah,
it
could get out of control real fast.
Yep. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for all the support you always share us. And please, the best way you can support this podcast is by sharing it with friends, family, on Facebook groups and all that stuff. That helps it grow. And we always appreciate, I really love when I see a Tank Talk podcast or a KT Tropicals or a Primetime Aquatics video being shared on a Facebook group or Instagram or whatever. But thank you so much. Hope everybody has a really great week. And we'll see you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye, everybody.